Welcome, you guys. I wanted to start this episode off. Actually, I have to start this episode off a little differently. Uh, I was going to come in here and explain how I don't have a beard now for the first time since 2016. Shout out Seahawks for beating the Commanders. I was gonna come in here and talk about what we saw on Thursday Night Football, which I will still talk about, but there are more pressing things that I wanted to start and I needed to start this episode with. Marshawn Nealand, the story that rocked the sports world when it was found out that he unalived himself at the age of 24. You know, this really hit a little differently for me, not just because it's in the sports world. And you know, usually when people like to use sports people like to use sports as an escape. People don't like to people go through problems every day. I don't think there's one person that doesn't deal with problems. And what a lot of people do is they use sports as an escape. So when something like this hits the sports world, it's exceptionally more difficult because usually when you think of sports, when you think of football, when you think of basketball, those are escapes. You use that, you watch that, you play that to escape for a lot of people. When I think of this Marshawn Leland situation, there's a lot of things that hit home for me. The first thing that hit home was I just saw him. We just saw him going up against Monday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals, and he just scored a touchdown. And that really puts into perspective not just how fleeting moments can be, but how you never know what moments mean to somebody. Reports came out that Nealon's mother, that unfortunately passed away last year, he was never able to, I'm not going to say get over because that's insensitive. He was never able to overcome the grief, the hurt that came from his mom's passing. And I can understand that, obviously, and I thank God for it. My parents, both my parents are still here, but I can't imagine going through that type of grief when you are essentially in the public spotlight at the young age of 24. You see, another thing that runs through my mind when we talk about this situation is when we watch these athletes, basketball, football, any professional sport, a lot of times we forget exactly what we're watching. We forget that we're watching young adults, sometimes kids. I can't imagine how I would deal with grief while making millions upon millions of dollars and being in the public spotlight. I can't imagine. Another thing that's unfortunate about this, because obviously you don't want anyone to feel the need to self-transition. One thing that's very unfortunate, and I noticed this trend, is when something like this happens, it's you always hear the check on your friends, or check on your strong friends, check on your loved ones, which is always what you should do. But I hate that something like this is usually what prompts that. Something like someone's untimely passing is what sparks the check on your loved ones conversation, instead of it happening every single day. I can't imagine the hurt that Marshawn's family is going through right now. Not only losing a mother, but losing a 24-year-old within a year. I also want to remind people that I hope that it doesn't take an incident like this to remind people that we're watching human beings. We're watching people that feel. We're watching people that are sensitive. We're watching people that have thoughts, have hearts. We're watching people that are just like us. It's just the amount of money that's in their bank account desensitizes a lot of people from the fact of, just because we see them on TV performing at the highest level, doing things that 99% of the world cannot do. These are still people. Again, rest in peace to Marshawn Kneeland. I pray for his family. I pray for healing. I know mental health is a huge thing that, if we're being completely honest, is unknown. A lot of people don't know the signs of, the lack of mental health. A lot of people don't know how to broach mental health. A lot of people don't know how to care for mental health. And it's unfortunate that something like this happens. And if we're being completely honest, this has happened more recently than I would like to admit. I've heard about cases like this more in the last 3 to 5 years than I've heard my entire life. And it doesn't get easier hearing something like this or dealing with something like this. So, again, I didn't want it would be, I think, disrespectful to this situation to start the episode off like I normally would. So I'm going to have a moment of silence. Again, rest in peace to Marshawn Kneeland, and I pray for healing to a family that almost assuredly needs as much healing as they can find right now. So, rest in peace to Marshawn Kneeland. Let's start the show. Welcome. I would like like to welcome you to episode 556 of the Unpopular Podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. Here at the Unpopular Podcast, not only asked to agree with me, I'm asking you to hear me out. I want you guys that watched Thursday Night Football, right? That watched the Broncos beat the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. I want you guys to close your eyes and remember what you saw that Thursday Night Football. And I want you to block out of your mental the Broncos record and the Raiders record. So all you have is a picture of what we saw on Thursday Night Football. I ask you, with that image in your head, did you see a 2-7 team going up against an 8-2 team? Or did you see two teams that were extremely close to each other in terms of talent? In my opinion, while I was watching Thursday Night Football and watching, again, the Broncos beat the Raiders 10-7, I couldn't get this image out of my head that, there's not much separating these two teams. Now, you'll probably, there's some people that would hear me say that and think to themselves, oh, well, that means the Raiders must not be as bad as 2-7, especially since they're going up against an 8-2 team in the Broncos, and they only lost by 3 points. I would say, on the contrary, Thursday Night Football, and if we're being completely honest, majority of this season said more about the Denver Broncos than the Raiders. Because as much as people like Pete Carroll, as good as a season Geno Smith had a year ago, this Raiders team is not good. Ashton Jeanty hasn't been really good. The only bright side to this team is Brock Bowers being one of the best tight ends in football, and Max Crosby. And even Max Crosby, he's been out. We're also talking about a team that just traded essentially their number one wide receiver in Jacoby Myers. In all intensive purposes, this Raiders team is not good. And I've been saying this. Now, it's easy to hear what I say and then just scoff at it or throw it away or comment that I don't know what I'm talking about or laugh because you think that I'm not smart in my takes. But I've been saying this for the majority of this season. I said the Denver Broncos is fool's gold. The Denver Broncos, they keep winning, but they're not that good of a team. I'll say it like this. They're not a balanced team in any way, shape, or form. Which to me, that means they're not an overall good team. What I mean by that is their defense is exceptional. They have, by far, one of the best defenses in football. I would argue their record, and if you watch them play, you can say that they are the best defense in football. And the fact of their defense continues to be solid and continues to be one of the best, and their best defender, i.e. the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in Patrick Surtain, isn't even playing right now. And I think he's going to be gone for the next couple weeks. And they still show that they're one of the best defenses in football. I believe they're atop of the AFC right now. But that's not the issue with this team. That's clearly not the issue with this team. In fact, that is the biggest praise that you can rain on this team, is that they're 8-2 because of that defense. And the defense is going to be much scarier once Patrick Surtain comes back. Again, I'm not mad, nor will I say that you're wrong if anybody comes on here and says the Broncos have the best defense in football. I'm not, hey, you might just be right from what we've been seeing this season. But then you get to that offense. And I've been saying it. This offense is not good. Do they have good players? Yes. But this offense is not good. Cortland Sutton's a great wide receiver. Franklin's pretty good. But this isn't a good offense. This is yet another game where Bo Nix threw under 200 yards. Bo Nix, 26-28, 150 yards. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. This is yet another game where Bo Nix finished the game with more interceptions than touchdowns. It is shocking to me when you look at this Broncos team and not just look at their record and say, how the hell are they 8-2? But look at what we saw last year offensively. Defensively, they were still good last year. They were just dealing with a lot of injuries. But last year, offensively, they were one of the best offenses in football. In fact, one of the reasons why people can look at my take and say that I'm wrong, and then if you look at the stats, even the stats don't really play or don't tell the whole story. Offensively, the Denver Broncos have been one of the best offensive fourth quarter teams. When it comes to the fourth quarter, when they flip the switch, a lot of times this season they're one of the best. But you have to ask yourself, why is it that they have to do that in the fourth quarter of most of these games? Why is it that most of these games going into the fourth quarter, they're down? With as great as their defense is, why are they one of the worst offenses through 3 quarters in football? You want to look at the grand scope of things? I like looking at the grand scope at times. I like drawing opinions on how I feel from what I'm watching. Meaning, when I watch this Denver Broncos team, how do I feel? What do I feel? What do I see that is either good or bad when talking about this Denver Broncos team? And how I feel is this. This defense is exceptional. I feel like if the offense could even remotely catch up to how great the defense is, we're looking at a Super Bowl caliber team. I think I even said last episode that this is a Super Bowl caliber team. However, there's an asterisk, a very bright asterisk. And that asterisk is if the offense can catch up. The offense that we see a lot of times in the fourth quarter for the Denver Broncos, if they're able to catch up to the defense and how great the defense is, we're looking at arguably the best team in football. Sean Payton has proven to be a good coach. The defense has proven to be great. It's just that offense. And until we see it on a consistent basis, there's no way that I can believe that a team that is playing the Las Vegas Raiders walks out that game. I don't care if it's a divisional game. Walks out that game only scoring 10 points. I can't think that team is a Super Bowl caliber team. I just can't. They have good pieces. It's just I don't know if it's the regression of Bo Nix. They're not going to call it a regression because of his record, but he has regressed since last year. Maybe it's the lack of running game. J.K. Dobbins just hasn't really got it done and neither has R.J. Harvey. Cortland Sutton's been probably the only consistent wide receiver they have. Troy Franklin's been really good, but still. People like talking about the Colts. And I think the Colts losing to the Steelers last week didn't help. But people, like, maybe because of, actually, it's not maybe, I'm sure it's because of the reputation that, Daniel Jones has garnished over the years, and how, the Colts organization has garnished over the years. But a lot of people still call the Colts a fraudulent good team. Like, a lot of people still have questions. Hell, even me. It took me a while to really come to terms with what we're watching with the Colts because of Daniel Jones, because of the history that the Colts have, because of the history, especially injury history, that Jonathan Taylor has had, especially recently. It was hard for me. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm looking at who they're playing. I'm like, I don't trust the opponents that they're playing for me to then say that the Colts are real deal. But I've come around to it. Hell, even with their loss to the Steelers forced 6 turnovers and still only won by 6 or 7 points. The way that people are slow to give credit to how good the Colts are, I believe that energy needs to be directed to the Broncos. Because, again, we know their defense is extraordinary. I'm not going to say historic, but they know, like, their defense is – it's hard for me to look at the league and think that there's a better defense playing right now than the Denver Broncos. But their offense, in my opinion, is why I can't put them in that I can't put an 8-2 team at a Super Bowl caliber team, because I cannot watch a team that averages damn near 10 points in 3 quarters. I can't put that team as a Super Bowl caliber team. I have to see more of an explosion from the offense before, and I'm not saying explosion in the sense of they have to then turn into the greatest show on turf. I'm not saying that. But I have to see more than Bo Nix yet again finishing a game with more interceptions than touchdowns. Bo Nix yet again finishing a game with less than 200 passing yards. Again, we're talking about a Raiders defense, a Raiders team that's not good. I'm being honest about what we're seeing. We're seeing a team that is getting carried almost exclusively by their defense. And while that's good, while obviously you want a defense as good as them, that's not a Super Bowl. That's not a recipe of Super Bowl. Gone, and I've said this several times, gone are the days where your defense is just going to win you a Super Bowl. No, it has to be balanced, at least some type of balanced. And this Denver Broncos team is not. I'm not going to say they're a fraudulent 8-2, but what I'm going to say is they're not a championship. I haven't seen them, and they're not a Super Bowl caliber team. And let me briefly talk about the Raiders before I move on to my Week 10 picks. I think that most people have admitted what we're seeing in Las Vegas right now when we talk about the Raiders. If you guys can hear outside, there's construction going on, so if you hear background noise, I apologize. They're doing construction outside. I think that it's very easy to say that last year was more of an aberration than anything when we talk about Geno Smith. Last year obviously was the year that essentially got him paid, or got him paid for this year. But Geno Smith has been, if you want to be nice about it, Geno Smith has been consistently inconsistent this year. There's been games that he has balled out, stats-wise, yards-wise. But those games, that doesn't necessarily mean they win. Like, he's thrown 300, 400 passing yard games. Well, maybe not 400, but 300, 350 damn near 400 passing yard games, and they still lose. I'm not saying that Geno Smith is not part of the problem. What I'm saying is Geno Smith is not part of the solution, and that is what they paid him for. I've talked about ad nauseum. I don't understand why you drafted Ascengenti. I don't understand why you bring in Pete Carroll. You pay Geno Smith. You know that you're going to have a pass-centric offense. You know that majority of your games you're going to be down because the defense is not that good. You really only have one good player on defense, and that's Max Crosby. So you know that passing is going to be existential. I definitely used that word wrong. Passing is going to be a mainstay. And you draft a wide receiver that is a running back that, of course, he's good, but he's not that good in the passing game. In fact, the one interception that you saw on Thursday Night Football from Geno Smith was because of Ascengenti. It hit Ascengenti right in the hands, and obviously he wasn't able to catch it. The defender comes, catches the football. So obviously they're going to give that to Geno Smith, but it was really Ascengenti's fault. Ascengenti has not been great. Some of that is him, just trying to acclimate and adapt himself to how fast the NFL is and how different it is, obviously coming from Boise State. But a lot of it has been because you went on a team that has absolutely no plan for you. On top of the fact of they had 25 carries the entire game. Now, granted, Geno Smith only passed the ball 26 times, but Raheem Morris only had one carry. Look, I also understand you have to know who your stallions are. You have to know who your players are. And you know that you just traded away your best wide receiver. So you know that you don't really. Tyler Lockett is essentially your best wide receiver at this point. Why is it that you finish a game, and I get the Denver Broncos defense is good, but why is Brock Bowers your best vertical threat essentially only getting 3 targets? Make that make sense. Again, in the grand scheme of it all, if you didn't know anything about either one of these teams, better yet, if you didn't know either one of these teams' records going into Thursday Night Football, coming out of Thursday Night Football, you would think that these teams were a lot closer than their records say they are. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest indictment on the Denver Broncos. And honestly, the Raiders, because the Raiders, they're not a good team. They're just not. So that obviously leads us into week 10 of the NFL season. You're flying. We got, 7 weeks left? So let me give my week 10 predictions, starting with the game that is going to be in Germany. Jesus loves you. It's going to be in Germany. That is Atlanta at Indianapolis. Now, I have absolutely no faith in Atlanta. Atlanta, I don't know if Michael Penix is going to come back, even if he doesn't, or even if he does. I don't think that they're going to utilize their weapons the best way that they should, because I haven't seen them do that this year. Maybe once or twice. And you're talking about an Indianapolis team that in all intensive purposes, beat themselves a week ago. If you don't turn the ball over 6 times, you're going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think this Atlanta defense is on the same level as the Pittsburgh Steelers defense at least a week ago, because I know their defense has struggled this year, but the capability that their defense can get to is what, like, the best we've seen their defense play was last week. So I don't think the Colts are going to. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to be able to run the ball again. We're going to see what Sauce Gardner looks like on this Indianapolis team. I think Indy's going to, I'm not going to say destroy, but they're going to beat the Atlanta Falcons. For some reason, I know younger quarterbacks actually play pretty well overseas, but I have Indy beating Atlanta in Germany. New York at Chicago. New York is not that good of a team. I know they have a really good pass rush. I know they have Jackson Dart, who at least up to this point has looked like a step up from, Russell Wilson at the start of the season. But they're not a good team, which is why I was a little shocked that they didn't do anything at the trade deadline, especially when we've been hearing Kayvon Thibodeau's name being dangled out there for trade bait. You just lost Cam Scatterboo. Russell Wilson sitting there, and I know that there's teams that need a quarterback. I was just shocked that they didn't really do anything. And on top of that, you're going up against a Chicago team that, don't get me wrong, I know they won the game, but we're not talking about how bad their defense was for giving up 41 points. I know that they beat the Bengals, but the Bengals did score 41 points. And I think they scored like 24 in the span of like a minute and a half. So I don't think that obviously you want Malik Neighbors to be healthy and everything, but there's nothing on that New York offense that even resembles anything close right now to a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins. So because of that, I don't think that they're capable of scoring 41. I also don't think that Chicago needs to score 47. I think Chicago's going to win this game. You're at home. Caleb Williams has looked pretty good these last few weeks. I think Chicago's going to win the game. So Buffalo at Miami. Miami's not good. I know they're at home, but last time they played Buffalo, didn't Buffalo beat them like 30-0 or something like that? And Miami's also coming off a loss against, I know they had like 10 days rest, but they're coming off a loss to Baltimore. So I got Buffalo winning that one. Baltimore at Minnesota. And we've heard it since last week. We've heard it since Lamar Jackson got back. We hear it every single time. Every game at this point is a do or die. The margin of error is almost non-existent for the Baltimore Ravens. Their defense has played much better. They just got homie Draymond. I forgot his last name. Homie from the Titans, who I think has 4 sacks in the last 4 games. And I know Baltimore, I think, only has 11 sacks on the year. They did trade away Zaire Alexander, but he wasn't really doing much for the team. It's a do or die. Every week is almost do or die. And you are going up against a team that did beat the Detroit Lions last week, but their offense hasn't been great. J.J. McCarthy did also come back last week, but again, their offense has not been great. It's been mainly their defense. And one thing that we know about Brian Flores and this Minnesota Vikings defense is they blitz damn near all the time. They're a aggressive, relentless defense. Well, at least this year when he's playing, Lamar Jackson has been the number 1 or 2 quarterback in the league at handling the blitz. So I think because they're playing for the lives and they have the best player on either one of these teams. I don't know, though, because Jettas can slice up this deep. I'm gonna go with the Baltimore Ravens. I think Baltimore is gonna go into Minnesota, play in a dome, and beat the Vikings. Cleveland at New York. I think for the first time this year, I'm picking Cleveland. New York just traded. New York is in a fire sale situation, which is why I'm kind of shocked that Jerome Johnson didn't go. I'm trying to shock that Breece Hall wasn't traded. But you trade your two best defenders in Cleveland, which there's nothing to write home about outside of Myles Garrett. Yeah, I'm going to go with Cleveland. New York, I don't think New York is even in the mindset of winning at this point. I know Aaron Glenn probably wants to. He's a coach. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Cleveland. New England at Tampa. This is going to be a really good game. We're talking about two teams that are really good, two teams that are amongst the top of their conferences. New England, the one thing that I don't like about New England is they rely extremely heavily on Drake May. Their running game is too inconsistent when we talk about Ramondre Stevenson and some of his fumbling issues. Their defense is pretty good, but I think that Tampa, especially going into Tampa, is going to be a tough go-around, especially if Christian Gonzalez, which I don't know if he's playing or not, if he doesn't play, that's going to be tough. Now, for the Tampa Bay side, again, most of their receivers are gone. I know Emeka Ibuka is supposed to be playing. Mike Evans is out. Chris Godwin's still out. I don't know if Bucky Irving's playing. It's going to be tough. But I think Tampa Bay, especially defensively, they are able to squeak this one out. I think it's going to be a really good game. I wouldn't be shocked if New England, especially this year, if New England beats the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I'm going to go with the Bucs winning this one. New Orleans at Carolina. It's crazy how different you can look at the Carolina Panthers from how they started the season to now. They look like a better team. I think they've understand that. Okay, Rico Dowles, let's give him the ball, and we'll figure it out after that. T-Mac has been really good. Xavier Legette, he's had his moments. I think that they're just a better team than the Saints, especially seeing as the Saints essentially gave away their number 2 wide receiver in Rashid Shaheed. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I think that they're still kind of close, but I'm going to go with the Panthers. Jacksonville at Houston. I don't think C.J. Stroud's playing, and because of that, I don't think they have a shot. I know their defense is really good, but one of the best defenses in football, but no C.J. Stroud, and you already have a depleted offense. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jacksonville. Arizona at Seattle. Seattle is a Super Bowl caliber team. Seattle is the reason. I lost a bet. For people that I lost a bet. One of my good friends back at home, he's a Seattle fan, and obviously I'm a Washington fan. So he was just talking big about the Seattle Seahawks, and he rightfully so. But I, felt competitive. I said, bet money that the Commanders are going to beat. It was on Monday Night Football. Or no, Sunday Night Football. I said, bet money that the Commanders are going to beat the Seahawks. He goes, actually, nah, bro. Let's make it more interesting. He has a beard as well, or had a beard as well. Whoever's team loses have to shave their beard. Now, backstory. I haven't shaved my beard I haven't cut my beard completely off since 2016. So, I can't back down at this point. Male pride. I kind of knew that the Washington didn't have a chance when Terry McLaurin was said not to be playing, but I said bet. And then we all saw what happened, so we don't need to rehash it. But Seattle is a Super Bowl caliber team, and that is why thank God I'm not going full nothing, but I need my beard to grow back quickly. Jesus. But and again, we talked about Arizona. They're coming off a win against the Cowboys, and obviously it was announced that Jacoby Brissett is going to remain the starter for the foreseeable future. I think Arizona is a good team. I just think that Seattle is, especially now that they got Rashid Shaheed playing alongside Jackson Smith and Jigba, that's going to be huge. This defense is playing really well. I think Seattle is a Super Bowl caliber team, and I have Seattle beating the Arizona Cardinals. Another Super Bowl caliber team, and probably one of the best teams in all of football, the LA Rams, is going into San Francisco. Now, I know it's a divisional opponent. San Francisco, with all the injuries that they're dealing with, they've been playing pretty well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And Mac Jones has been playing good. Shout out to him. As much as he's not that good, he's been playing well. However, you're going up against a juggernaut offensively and essentially a juggernaut defensively. I don't know too many teams that are on the same level as the Rams right now. And because of that, I'm going with the Rams. So, Detroit at Washington. I'm going to pick Detroit, obviously, because Marcus Mariota is playing, but I did see a report. The results came back for Jaden Daniels, and it wasn't as obviously there was a break or there was a dislocation, but there wasn't no structural damage. It wasn't there was no nerve damage. It wasn't as bad as it looked, and it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And because of that, Washington they're not going to put Jaden Daniels on IR. They're just going to have day by day or week by week. No. No. I am as big a fan of Jaden Daniels being a Washington Commander. I think that our only shot of any type of playoff run or anything rest on the shoulders of Jaden Daniels. I'm all for that. However, we're also talking about a player that has had 3 injuries this year, has missed games 3 separate times this year due to injury. And I talked about it. The season's over, bro. The season is cooked. Not saying that there aren't things to gain from this season, but right, I'm gonna say I don't think we're making the playoffs. If we do find a way to squeak into the playoffs, we're not making no noise in the playoffs. I know that the assumption for a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of people in that organization felt that they were primed to make a NFC championship again. That's not, no. Let Jaden Daniels rest. Do not rush him back. Let him take his sweet time. And to be completely honest, I don't think we should see Jaden Daniels again this year. Cam Newton says something that I didn't really think about. And shout out to Fourth and One, the Cam Newton platform that he has. Shout out to him. Because a lot of people, including myself, were questioning why Jaden Daniels was in the game that late, obviously with a blowout. And he was like, he was probably also trying to get reps, because I totally forgot that Jaden Daniels missed 2 games actually before that. So it's like, you want to get him reps, because also his number 1 receiver in Terry McLaurin is not there. So I'm not justifying why he should have been in the game. I still think he should have been out, but I kind of understand now. Dan Quinn was probably thinking, we need to get Jaden more reps. I got it. But still, going to this week, actually, we should not see Jaden Daniels again this year, in my opinion. Let him rest. Let him get 100%. Let's figure out what's going on with Terry McLaurin. Let's see how long that's like. Let's not rush. We already, what happens when a quarterback rushes them in our organization. We've already seen what happens when a quarterback gets rushed back to the game. I'm not saying that we rushed RG3 back, but see what happens when he rushed back. Let's slow down. I don't like comparing Jaden Daniels to RG3 because a lot of people think that they're synonymous. They're not. But I will say we have seen what happens when you rush a mobile quarterback back to the game when he maybe should. Let's chill out. And with that being said, Detroit is going to beat Washington probably handedly. So, and then you have Sunday Night Football. You have Pittsburgh at Chargers. If we get the Pittsburgh, that defense, if we get the same defensive performance from the Pittsburgh Steelers that we saw them do against the Colts, if we get that against the Chargers, they're going to win. That is the defense that they thought they were going to get most of the year, that they thought that they would be able to lean on most of the year. If we get that defensive performance from the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to win. Especially when you see just how banged up the offensive line is for the Chargers. Now, on the contrary, Justin Herbert is going crazy this year. Yeah, he has his moments, but he's been really good. I'm gonna go the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think losing Joe Alt, obviously losing Rashawn Slater is big. I know they got a lineman from the Saints, I believe, at the trade deadline. So we'll see what that happens. But I think offensively the Chargers are better, but they're gonna have to deal with a defense that looked like they woke up. So I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you have Monday Night Football. You have the Eagles at Green Bay. I kind of feel like Green Bay is essentially sort of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type situation. It's like when they play their best, they're one of the best teams. But then you have games like what we saw last week against the Panthers. It's like, what are you doing? And the Eagles, they're coming off a bye week. I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I think the Eagles, especially after what I just saw from the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers defense, at least the defensive front, has been good. Micah Parsons has been great for this team, but their offense hasn't been great. But then again, Philly's defense hasn't been spectacular, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm going to go with Philly. Those are my Week 10 predictions, and we will see if I'm correct or not. Speaking of correct, I want to have a conversation about Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes that currently find themselves 14th in the Big 12 and sitting at 1-6. And this is also coming off of 2 back-to-back losses. They lost to Utah 53-7, then they lost to Arizona 52-17. And a lot of people are asking, how did we get here? And my response to that is there's a lot of reasons how we got here. And I think, quiet as it's kept, a lot of this falls on the doorstep of Deion Sanders / Deion Sanders coaching staff. When you ride the season that you have last year, you have a player that a lot of people assumed was going top 10 in the draft. You had another player that people knew was going top 10 in the draft and even won a Heisman. The sky is the limit. You took a team that was one of the worst teams, not just in the Big 12, but one of the worst teams in football. I think at the time, the year before he got there, they were like 1-11 or 0-12 or something like that. You took that team and got them to a bowl. You took that team and you got them a Heisman winner. the sky is the limit. But then you start seeing things that make you question the current situation. For instance, I think you hear Deion Sanders essentially say something as, we don't really recruit. People come to us, which I get that, but now you look and you realize just how bad of a roster they have. And how if you have to play 3 quarterbacks in one game and none of them got hurt, that's how you know you have a bad situation. So you've already missed on the recruiting part. Defensively, this team is garbage. There's only 2 games. 2 games where the opponent did not score over 30. No, I'm sorry. I apologize. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 games the opponent did not. 5 games the opponent scored over 30. You're coming off of 2 games where the opponent collectively scored 105 points on y'all. Don't get me wrong. Utah, you kind of can understand. But Arizona, while they do put up points, they're not that good of a team. I'm going to be honest. As much as I want Deion Sanders in this program, in this organization to succeed, the coaching staff has not done a good job this year. And this team is not good. The star recruit at the quarterback position that they got, I think his name's Slater, he hasn't been good. Yeah, Caden Slater, he's not been good. I'm not going to disrespect him, Sage. He's not been good. The leading rusher is Mekhi Welch with 313 yards. This team's not good, bro. And a lot of it does fall at the doorstep of Deion Sanders. Now, I don't think he should be fired. If he doesn't want to return next year, I understand it, but I don't think he needs to be fired. We're just being honest about what we're seeing. This has not been a good year for the entire program of Colorado, especially with the hype and the anticipation that they had going into the season, especially after last season. And I do think that this was a big year for Deion Sanders because I think he has some things to prove too. I know health-wise that kind of derailed a little bit, but he has some things to prove too. Like he had to prove that he could win without his son, without Travis Hunter. And what we're seeing, he didn't. He had them in Jacksonville or Jackson State, and he had them in Colorado. The year that he hasn't coached his son, 3-6. So just saying what we're seeing, you know. Yeah. And lastly, before we go, I kind of want to talk about this Dallas Maverick situation and how bad it is. And I want to break the bad news to people. Right now, Dallas is currently 2-6 amongst the bottom of the Western Conference. And a lot of people are saying that once Kyrie Irving comes back, everything's going to work itself out. as much as I respect Jason Kidd as a player, as much as I respect Jason Kidd as a coach, I didn't understand why you wanted a player in Cooper Flag that has never played the point guard position before, might I add. You wanted him to be the full-time center after acquiring D'Angelo Russell. And on top of that, which makes it even more difficult, the fact that you're trying to essentially learn point guard as a number in the NBA, but everything around you starts to crumble. You don't have any ball handlers outside of D'Angelo Russell. Your guaranteed three-point shooter in Klay Thompson has been absolutely awful. I think he's only averaging 8 points this year. He's in absolutely awful. So that's not the three. Outside of that, there's really only one, maybe two players that can shoot. In fact, you don't have any, because Max Christie, he can kind of shoot the three, but he's more of a corner three-point specialist. And Jaden Hardy, he's cool, but he doesn't get enough minutes, and he doesn't really shoot that much. On top of that, there should be absolutely no reason, or nobody thought going to the season that P.J. Washington was going to be your leading scorer. Dallas is a mess right now. And look, we know that they traded away Luka Doncic, and you see what Luka Doncic is doing in L.A. But it's just you look at the construction of this roster, bro. The construction of the roster is dependent on three people, one of which is a rookie. The other two is not playing right now because they're hurt. But before you traded Luka Doncic, you knew that the person you were trading him for and Kyrie Irving both have extensive injury histories. So you thought in your head, going into the season, you thought in your head that barring everything is perfect, outside of Kyrie Irving, because he tore his ACL last year, you knew he wasn't going to play for majority of the year. You went to the season thinking, okay, best case scenario, Anthony Davis leads this team. We're a defensive juggernaut. Cooper Flag has been incredible. He's going to average about 20, 23 points. D'Angelo Russell, Klay Thompson's going to average like 16, 17, maybe even 18 points. And once Kyrie Irving comes back, we're going to be one of the best teams in basketball, both defensively and offensively. Where we lack offensively, Kyrie Irving is going to pick up. That was your thought going into this season. When you look today, Cooper Flag hasn't been great, but it's only because he's not a point guard. And you tried to get – when I heard that they were going to use him as a point guard, I'm like, what? Not only does that show that you don't really have a point guard, you didn't have faith in D'Angelo Russell, but on top of that, the person that you traded Luka for, who, might I add, Luka is an MVP candidate, probably leading candidate in MVP. Luka, the person that you traded him for, Anthony Davis, is hurt again. On top of that, Kyrie Irving's still not here. And Klay Thompson has had, by far, his worst season. In fact, I would not be shocked if Klay Thompson were to retire next year. That's how bad he's looked. In fact, let me read you Klay Thompson's numbers Klay Thompson currently is averaging 9 points. If you want to round out, 9 points because it's 8.5, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting 34% from the field. He's currently shooting 29% from the field. Oh no, 29% from 3. So you're averaging 9 points a game while shooting 29% from 3 and 34% from the field. And averaging almost 2 turnovers a game. Don't get me wrong, man. Clay's had a hell of a career, but what we watching is it's tough. Shout out to Kofi. He's a online personality that talks about, sports a lot. He encapsulated it perfectly. He said, "Yo, Dallas found a way to make Cooper Flag and this entire team not fun to watch. They're not a good watch. This is a bad team. Mind you, this team just lost to the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, I know technically the Pelicans are kind of like on a win streak, but they just lost to the New Orleans Pelicans. It's not a good team. From mismanagement to bad results from trades that, shocker, damn near everyone knew was going to be bad results. This is the state of the Dallas Mavericks right now. It's not looking too hot. But hey, it's still early. Maybe Kyrie will save all of this, even though I highly doubt it. Not questioning Kyrie's skills, just questioning if he's good enough to mend this, especially without a consistent Anthony Davis. Like, yeah, I don't know. And there you have it. That's been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. If you want a Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get as many subscribers as possible. If you like the content, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. It definitely means a lot. I'm trying to grow the podcast, and I cannot do it without you guys' help. So please, please, please subscribe. Also, for the DSPs, it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. Please follow, subscribe, rate, share, all that. Again, I'm trying to grow the podcast. I'm trying to grow unilaterally. I'm trying to grow everywhere, and I cannot do it without you guys' help. No platform is bigger than the other. No platform is more important than the other. So for all my DSPs, if you want to hear this luscious voice of mine, please, please follow, share, comment, rate. It means a lot. For my social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, please follow, please comment, please keep it respectful. I don't mind going back and forth. It just means that you're listening to me and you have an opinion about something, both of which are important to me. I don't mind going back and forth. That's where you get reels, stories. That's probably the quickest way to get to me. We can debate in the comments. Again, keep it respectful, and I don't mind going back and forth. So, yeah, please follow the socials. Until next time, much love.